Jaime Harrison, thank you so much for speaking with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Turnout in North Carolina cities, Charlotte specifically, really wasn't as high as Democrats had hoped in recent elections. What are Democrats doing differently in that area this year that might produce a better result?
Well, I was just at a rally in Charlotte with the mayor pro tem, and she is very pleased with the turnout so far in terms of Democratic performance. And that's partly because we have built a ground operation that's been on the ground here in North Carolina for well over a year. And we have a dynamic new party chair, really has been focusing on organizing. And I think all of those efforts with investments from the National Party, investments from the Harris campaign, have really led to a very strong operation. We have 29 offices across the state of North Carolina. We're more than 340 staffers that are here on the ground, and that number continues to grow. And I believe that operation will get us over the finish line and to make sure we're victorious on November 5th.
All right. The vice president had a lot of momentum when she became the official candidate for president. Since then, her numbers have waned a bit. Many polls are really putting this at a dead heat, or even with Harris slightly behind. Is there a way to energize the base again now that early voting is taking place?
Well, I think that the base is energized. I've been doing a number of things across the state of North Carolina, here in Charlotte, but also Eastern North Carolina and some of the rural counties. And I can tell you, folks are fired up. There's a lot of energy right now, and I think you see a record turnout so far across North Carolina, but it's going to be close. This is a close election. And in close elections, ground operations are really key and important. And I believe that we have a better one on the Democratic side.
Jamie, you mentioned rural counties. Democrats have really ignored rural counties. Even our state party chair has talked about this over the last 20 years. We've seen the voter registration numbers really reflect that. What do you say to rural voters who may be on the fence for who to vote for?
Well, listen, I consider myself a dirt road Democrat. I grew up off of a dirt road in South Carolina. So I know about the issues that impact rural communities that are unique to rural communities. And if you stack up the deck, stack up what Donald Trump did for rural communities compared to what the Biden-Harris administration had done for rural communities, and it doesn't compare. Right now, we're seeing broadband come into rural communities. That didn't happen under Donald Trump. He said that he wanted infrastructure week every week and never filled a pothole. But right now, we got broadband going into rural North Carolina because of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden and Democrats in the House and Senate. The infrastructure that we are seeing, new pipes, tearing out those old lead pipes, putting down new roads, getting rid of these bridges that are falling apart. All of that happened because of Democrats. And so some of the new opportunities for farmers, farmers that are now putting out solar panels and creating other uses for their farms, bringing in more money, sustaining family farms. That didn't happen under Donald Trump. It's happening because of Democrats and Democratic policies.
Let's talk about young voters here for a minute. We're hearing about the Democrats losing some of them to Jill Stein, the Libertarian candidate who criticizes the Harris campaign for not being more vocal about the war in Gaza. Is your party concerned that this defection, no matter what the size is, no matter how small it might be, could have an impact on the election that will come down to a very small margin of votes?
Well, in the end, we have heard that Donald Trump is a big fan of Jill Stein because he feels as though she takes votes from Democrats. For the first time, Democrats are running ads about Jill Stein's campaign. We saw the impact that she had in 2016 and how right now women in this country don't have in many states, the right to control their own bodies. That's because Donald Trump was elected president. That's because Jill Stein helped in that effort. But I know that the American people and young people don't want that. They have made progress over these last few years because of their vote in 2020, because of their continued vote in 2022. And I believe that young people will once again stand up with Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party.
Last question for you. You've got a website on some signs there behind you, iwillvote.com. What's that all about?
If you run into any issues with voting, we as a party believe that all of Americans, regardless of your party affiliation, should be able to exercise your right and go vote if you're a registered voter. So if you run into any problems, go to iwillvote.com. We have a hotline set up where lawyers are on the ready to make sure that you get all of the guidance and the help you need in order to cast your ballot.
Jaime Harrison, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.